The Titanic Prison of Fate. That's right. Azeroth is a prison. Sylvanas told us. We should have known. Sargeras tried to break us out of it. I don't know. What's going on? Let's see what Pyro has to say about Azeroth being a prison. And a little bit more extra detail that we haven't figured out yet.
What I've said before is that I think each ring obviously represents something different. Some of them I think are more physical barriers than they are magical. I think the ones inscribed with runes on them are more magical barriers, which if you guys have noticed...
That makes sense.
In Karazhan, on the giant orb of Azeroth with rings rotating around it that Medivh built in New Karazhan. You should go check it out. we will again at some point because it's probably the most interesting room in the entire fucking game. The inner ring of the three does not have runes inscribed on it.
Oh.
Sargeras, his sword is depicted in a piece of art, actually a model that was removed from the game shortly after being in the game.
Removed from the game. Very interesting.
Beta. For I think it was BFA. And this depicts the same thing. This was inside the Chamber of Heart room. And you see how this one has runes on it?
Yeah.
And this one has like this inscription of some kind on it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This one, where there is a giant sword sticking out of the fucking globe that is Azeroth, is being intercepted by this sword, it would seem.
So interesting. So maybe the reason she can talk to us now is because the physical barrier, that inner ring, has been broken. But she can't free herself yet because the outer barriers, which are more magical or rune inscribed, they are more of a magical barrier. Those are still holding her back. But the physical one has been broken, so now we can hear her voice. Sargeras, maybe.
This is rotating around it like a coin. I have to look at the model in Karazhan again because I'm pretty sure that I can't remember which way the rings rotate. Some of them rotate like a coin, and some of them rotate on the axis that they're already on.
Right.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm describing that properly. But it seems as though Sargeras' sword broke maybe the most physical barrier, and that's why such an act...
Blizzard already confirmed that Sargeras did not just randomly poke at the planet, that his aim at Silithus was with intention, with purpose. So he was aiming for something. It would make sense if maybe he was aiming for this inner ring, this physical barrier, to be broken by a physical sword. Whereas the other ones might require some kind of spell or something to break them. Or maybe you have to kill the being that created the domination magic to begin with. Right, we've seen something like that before, where, you kill the one who's doing the domination, and you can free the person who's being dominated. So maybe Aman'Thul would have to be killed, the last Titan, I don't know, to be able to free her truly, or who knows, maybe it's the Primus, I don't know, but we all know he's the originator of domination magic, but I think the Primus is not behind these rings. It's probably Aman'Thul, who maybe learned some of the Primus's magic.
Of destructions was such an act of... I mean, think about what he did. He took a giant sword and stabbed it in the world, and it didn't even actually destroy the world.
That's right. I would have split the world in
crazy.
half. That's true.
If there's a video,
we're probably gonna raid
a really
today.
Fucking awesome one on YouTube that describes what would happen if that happened to a planet, an object that size going into it, and it's catastrophic. So it's pretty remarkable that it didn't destroy the planet. So that probably speaks to the actual physical resilience of the prison that is built around Azeroth. It's very physically strong and has, a massive, basically, sword of destruction and unmaking stabbed into it, and it still doesn't break.
True. Yeah, that's very interesting.
That's pretty remarkable. The second layer is probably something of more magical, something more magical. If we haven't already done this, one of these could pertain to the dream, even.
Yeah.
Could be why Azeroth is speaking.
You would think, to the dream, that's interesting. You would definitely think that this, Sargeras is capable of this. We know that. He can chop planets in half. And this sword is plenty capable of doing so. Now, I don't think he was aiming to chop a planet in half when he poked at Azeroth. You could tell here, he's not looking to necessarily break the planet. It looks like he's aiming at something. He's very focused on what he's trying to do here. So his goal wasn't to destroy the planet, but it is interesting to think that, even a stab like this, maybe a regular planet would have just fallen apart. But Azeroth's so strong, this prison's so strong that it's still held together. Interesting thoughts.
To us now. Maybe one of the rings was this.
Aiming at
So
Gold Shock.
there might only be one ring left. I don't know.
Aiming at Gold Shock. Aiming at Lion's Pride on Moonguard because the blasphemous things that are happening there.
Oh.
Possible.
I'd like to think there's probably still two, but there could only be one. Especially after the fact that she's like talking to Anduin now. And he's coming south towards this fucking sword. Remember that. That's like the plot line right now. They're being drawn to the sword by Azeroth.
Yeah, Azeroth is calling him. That's true.
That's kind of a big deal. She's, I mean... And to think about, what was it aimed at? Like I've said before, it was aimed at the heart, wasn't it? Maybe I'm misunderstanding the sword's effect on the world, but even if I'm not...
Yeah.
These mechanisms...
I agree, Panda. If he was looking to destroy the world, he would have swiped at it, not poked it. That's for sure. What's up, Ponstar?
Are not purely physical. They're not, you know, not all of them, you know?
She probably wants the giant sword out of her.
That's why we're called what does N'Zoth call us? The breaker of chains? We're also called what? The movers of fate?
We're also called champions. Yeah.
Azeroth is in something that should probably be referred to as, and I think I've seen this term before, as the prison of fate.
The prison
and that's what
of
she's
fate.
That's what I'm gonna start calling it.
The prison of
From
fate.
now on. I saw that in a screenshot. It was like a table of something that someone sent me. And also, the more that I've seen about Zereth Mortis, the more I'm inclined to believe that as well. The more that I think about fate, eternal, those types of words and how they're used in World of Warcraft, typically have an association with like
fate,
destiny. You know,
fate certainly shows up in a.
I have to wonder if Sargeras didn't stab his sword. Breaking the Helm of Domination would have been capable of ripping open the veil before. I'm not sure that it would have been. I think it's probably what Sargeras did with his sword set in motion a couple very important things. The first being Azerite.
Yeah, true.
Think about it this way. If you want to relate the rings of fate, we'll say, around Azeroth to locks or physical places, that's why I'm thinking probably the Dream, the Shadowlands. If you want to relate the rings themselves to objects in the cosmology, you could potentially relate two of those rings, one each to those two realms, considering that they're inherently tied to the flow of souls, and thus probably the health of Azeroth, if she's the creator of the universe. Or even creator of souls or anything like that.
Just real quick on Fate. You know, I was trying to remember. I was like, wait a minute. I know a cinematic.
Change things.
I know a cinematic that talks about fate. I know what's going. You guys remember this when we finally defeat Sargeras? Illidan and Prophet Bellinger.
Without the hunt, did you not see this fate, Prophet?
Fate. Our survival was never in fate's hands.
Interesting to see if that line comes back at some point. Our survival was never in fate's hands, and he's talking about this prison like a prison of fate.
We go in and change things to allow for
pulling out his overrate.
You know, that difference to be made. I guess I'm talking on like a huge, like worldwide level of like connection being changed because of our efforts within the Shadowlands and within the Dream. And if that's the case, then those realms and what we've done within them could have been instrumental into how we've essentially unlocked the prison.
Yeah, I could imagine the dream being one of the rings because a dream keeps you asleep. It could be that, like, you know, you got your physical barrier, then you got a domination barrier, and then you got like a, I don't know, sleeping or peaceful or trying to, you know, tranquil barrier, a barrier that's just meant to keep you asleep. And that's what the Emerald Dream barrier could be, and we're breaking through it. You guys remember there's that whole tale about that dragon, the green dragon that flies beyond the Emerald Dream, like deeper than anybody's ever gone into the Emerald Dream, and they find something there? That could be part of it. Like she's kind of flown through the barrier, maybe.
The question that we have to start asking ourselves, I guess, or not have to, it's something I've asked myself before. Hopefully I'm not deceived about what Azeroth is and what we're really opening the prison of. I really hope it is Azeroth, and the fact that they're showing the World Soul and saying World Soul in the closed captions during those cutscenes really leads me to believe that like it is Azeroth, and we
I don't
are
think they're
setting
tricking
her,
us.
setting her free from the prison. And the Titans intend to stop us from doing that. That's why they're going to return. It's stated in the Watcher of Norganon's records in the south of, I think it's Tanaris, that the Titans have scheduled revisitation to our world, and he describes that means that they will come back to reassert control of the world. So that's what they intend to do. I don't know what Sargeras and Illidan are going to do in terms of, are they going to make it out? I don't know. I would like to think that Illidan is there for his own destiny and something that he carved out for himself, that he was allowed to do because Sargeras burned out his eyes with the flame, gifting him that fell, making that bargain. And I would think that even through all his deception, Illidan probably still knows more than he lets on to us.
I think so. Also, I mean, Illidan and Sargeras just sitting in that portal, that room, chatting now. There's no way that they're not realizing that someone has been tricking them behind the scenes. I feel like some kind of Dreadlord Sardenathrius plotline is going to reveal itself at some point, and they're both going to realize that those are the true enemies, and that's gonna come to fruition. And I don't know if they're going to team up necessarily, or Sargeras is going to be on our side, but we could have a common enemy. That could certainly happen.
That this is fucking happening. I'm gonna be honest. Like, this is the shit that I've speculated about for years, and they're starting to drop the hints now, that big hints of what is really going on, and that's vindicating. I'll tell you what. That's a vindicating feeling.
Yeah, this is interesting.
We'll see how they do it, though,
interesting
there's
theory.
A lot left to come.
It's really interesting because we've all done the whole theory, Azeroth is a prison and all that stuff. Yes, we've talked about those things before. But the interesting part about it is, what if those rings each have a different purpose? And the physical barrier, the inner one, has been broken, and now it's time to deal with maybe this dream barrier and a domination barrier. Could be some interesting plot lines, and also interesting to think 3 barriers, 3 expansions, World Soul Saga. Maybe we're breaking one or finishing off one in each expansion. Could be. I guess we'll have to wait and find out.